Em.
Hi, JJ.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone,
Sam.
for staying till the end to hear the sex part 2. This is my favorite conversation. Emily and I have it privately all the time, and this is our second time to have it publicly. But I know you particularly are very excited about this frame as sex as wellness. So I just want to start with that. Why?
Okay.
There we go.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so sex is wellness because sex is, for so many years, so this is my 20th year since I started Sex with Emily, and a lot has happened in these 20 years, but a lot has changed, a lot hasn't changed. But one of the things about sex is wellness is that for so long, sex was like the bastard child of the wellness industry. They're like, we're gonna do all this stuff, but we'll bring in Sex with Emily to talk about like blowjobs and fun things, and it was like, listen, people, if we are not feeling sexually well in our bodies and healthy, if we have stress, trauma, or shame, I call those the pleasure thieves, the things that's keeping us from actually feeling good in our bodies, it's going to impact every other area of our life, no matter if we're taking hormones or how much protein we're eating or fiber or pills or all the things. If we still have some internalized shame, which many of us do around sex, if we're not communicating with our partners in a healthy way, if we have just decided that we're done with sex forever. All of that's okay as long as we're doing it consciously, but that's why sex is wellness, and it impacts every other area of our life when we really pay attention to our sex life.
I remember us talking about, there we go. We talk all the time, like you have to go to the gym, you have to eat well, and why isn't sex one of those things? Obviously, that seems a little weird, and now you have to have sex with a partner or without, but how do we reframe it for ourselves as this might be something you need to work on?
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing, you guys. I hate to give you something else to do because there's a lot. You guys have probably taken a lot of notes today and in life. But because sex has been shrouded in mystery so long, and because those damn pleasure thieves, stress, trauma, and shame, has kept us from really paying attention to it, a lot of us are just like, I'm going to put it on the back burner. I'm going to get back to the sex once the kids are grown, once I get this done next week. And then years go by, and we're like, I actually don't really know what to do or what I like. And there's not a lot of, you Google it, you get porn, right? It's really hard to find a lot of this information about sex. And so I think it's because of all that shame. We think we should be great at it. Also, listen, early on in a relationship, the sex is amazing, right? It's the honeymoon phase. All those feel-good hormones are spiking, and we have this amazing attraction. But over time, when that fades, and it will, I would say that most people are going to struggle at some point with their sex lives. We're not sure where to start. We're not sure what to do. And so I think by having these conversations and talking about it is so important. But especially as women, I want to say this, and I was talking to JJ earlier, I was like mad about this. I also look at women like, okay, well, we're in midlife, and how do I get it back? And then I want to say, was it ever great? Like, really? Like, when was it that great? Because after 20 years and talking to literally millions of people, 1 billion people have downloaded my podcast. I've talked to hundreds, so many people. I'm like, were we women really having sex for women? Have we ever been really empowered to say, this is what I like, this is what I want? We never really even knew what was on the menu. By the way, when we think about sex, how many people think penetration? Right? Penis goes in vagina. Only 20% of women are going to have an orgasm that way or have any kind of pleasure. And so what I would say right now, today, like even if you're starting today or this is the first you're hearing it, all is not lost. Today could be the first day of the rest of your sex life, because you could say, you know what? I want to lean into the pleasure. I want to lean into what actually feels good. Maybe it's a massage if that turns you on before you get into sex. Or maybe it's just talking a lot and feeling that's the intimacy. I mean, sometimes, or talking to our partner in a more connected way. Because a lot of times, I think we're like, we got to have sex. We should check it off the list. Like Cindy was saying, like 2 times a week, or this number feels right. But really, it's about intimacy and connection. So I think the more I can encourage women to say, what actually feels good to me? What do I really want? That's why I love toys, exploring, solo sex, all the things. But really, was it that great? And how can we make it better?
By the way, just a quick aside, have you noticed, probably no one in here watches as much television as I do, but for the TV that younger people watch, which I watch also, like the CW and all these things, there's so much more sex that is not penetration. If anyone else noticed this on TV?
Oh, yeah. A little bit. I know when I saw Bridgerton for the first time. No, JJ, you're right. Meaning like Bridgerton, when I saw that.
Yeah, everything. thing.
All of a sudden, like, he goes down on her, and she did not return the favor. Like, when do you ever see a woman receiving oral sex and she's not going down on him? I was like, yeah, hallelujah. So I'm guessing there's more of that.
On all the shows I watched,
Yeah. Okay, so that's
all the shows.
great. So
but let's get back.
Get back to
The thing
it.
that I hear you talk about that resonates a lot with people, because I don't think a lot of people have used this word around it, is the shame. Because shame shows up in so many different ways. And I like when you talk about it because it makes everyone feel okay about whatever they're experiencing, because you've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah, shame, you guys, shame is such a heady stew. I mean, we think about shame. Shame basically just means that you think you're bad, you're failing, everyone else is having better sex than I am, everyone's having more sex, more orgasms, they want it more often, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. That's one way we do it. That's like a current shame. But then there's like shame that we don't even remember. Like, listen, you know, people were like pre-verbal maybe, and you maybe you touched yourself. You were like a toddler or something, and your parents might have said, "Don't do that. That's wrong. That's shameful. That's private." That might have been the first time that you were like thinking about your genitals at all and thought, "Well, that's private. That's something I should not do," right? And then as we get older, especially as women, whenever I have conversations with them, I like to say, like, do you remember your first message you got around sex? What was it? And when I hear this, I can tell you mine. Like, I always say, well, what was your message at 16? I know mine was like, don't have sex with anyone until you're committed or until you love them, or like, keep your numbers low. And, you know, but if you grew up in a religious
How's that working out for you?
Terrible. I lost count, and I'm very proud of it. I've come a long way. But I was not, you guys, I did not grow up in an environment that my mom wasn't like, here's the clitoris, it has 12,000. I didn't have that either. I had to learn 20 years ago when I started this from having a lot of disappointing sex. And I was like, this can't be right. Just because every time a guy has an orgasm, I'm like, why isn't that happening? So the shame part is like, it's someone else's voice in our head. Maybe we grew up in an environment where we're told, save sex for marriage, or just do it, take it for the team, or all the messaging we get about our bodies changing. And, you know, those are the voices in our head that's also keeping us from so many things. I mean, shame shows up in a lot of ways, but it especially shows up with sex. So kind of rewriting that narrative that your body is beautiful as it is and deserving of pleasure, and then leading a life that is more pleasure focused. I mean, I would say my mission is to prioritize pleasure and liberate the conversation around sex. And I guess what I mean by that is that you know, sometimes we think, why aren't I in the mood for sex? Like it's time, it's 10 o'clock at night, we should want to do it. But how was the rest of your day? Like, what were you doing in the day that was actually for you, that felt good, that was pleasurable? You know, pleasure begets pleasure, sex begets sex. And so just even looking at your schedule, like, what am I doing this week that's just for me? That's not for someone else. That's not for my partners or my kids or my work. So I think about like time with friends, like going to JJ's house, hanging out with people I love.
What? Hanging out with me.
I love hanging out with JJ. It's like one of my favorite things. But like, what are you doing that's just feels good? Because your body's also, you have to like, it's a you know, it's a muscle, it's an activity, it's our nervous systems, it's all the things that are like priming us for pleasure. So to think that we should just be magically ready for sex because our partner is, or because society tells us to, we are not often given even the tools to understand our desire, and that's...
Okay, I want to talk about two things, and one is, how do we get the tools? But the other one is this idea of, we work out, we talked about this in the beginning.
Right.
We work out, we lift weights, we eat well. This is something that requires some thought.
It does. And so the way it does require thought, and the way I like to think about it is sex IQ, or sexual intelligence. So I wrote a book 2 years ago called Smart Sex, my first book, Smart Sex, How to Boost Your Sex IQ and Own Your Pleasure. And in it, I wrote about the 5 pillars of sex IQ, which is really just a way to think about your overall wellness, but really as it applies to your sexual health. And I can just run through that. I mean, this is the way you can think about, you know, thinking about how it applies to your sexual health. And the first one is embodiment. And this is not to say that people are like, well, sex IQ is misleading. Like, it's not like you're going to get to 100%. Like, I'm not at 100% of sex IQ. It's a way that you can become your own sex expert and troubleshoot. So the first one is embodiment. How am I in my body during sex? Am I actually feeling what's happening? Or am I like thinking about my to-do list, the laundry, whatever else needs to happen? So that's just embodiment. Some great tools for that are things that you probably already know, but like breath work, dancing, movement. The next one is health. The second pillar is health, and that's your physical health, your mental health, and just being aware, like, What are the medications I'm taking that could impact the libido? Am I eating enough protein? Am I moving my body? Blood flow. So when everything starts to feel like, how come I don't have orgasms anymore? Or get aroused? Yes, it could be hormones, so many other things. But also, are we moving our body? Are we eating foods that make us feel good? The next one is collaboration. And that's the communication part. I always say communication is a lubrication. How well are we actually collaborating on our sex life? Am I talking to my partner about it in a way that's more detailed than are we having it, are we not? Like, what are you into? What's your desires? What's your fantasies? What have we liked about our sex life? What don't we like? I often find in relationships, there's one person who's like pushing the sex boulder up the hill, like I should fix it, or it's collaboration.
And you have rules around that.
I have rules around it. Timing, tone, and turf. Which ones? That one?
Yeah.
So this is if you want some actionable tools, timing, tone, and turf is my tips, my 3 T's for having any conversation about sex. So this could be great for tonight.
Right in the middle of it.
Right.
I'm kidding.
Not in the middle. That's the turf. So the timing is when you're not hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Just remember that. This is also a great conversation tool for life when you're having any awkward or hard conversation. Find a time when you're just hanging out, things are feeling good. The tone is curious and compassionate and chill. Hey, I realize we haven't really talked about our sex life lately, and I just want to know, like, would you be down for figuring out ways to make it pleasurable for both of us, rather than how come we haven't had sex lately, or how come you don't do this, or we've talked about it, or whatever, you know those tones. And the turf is outside the bedroom when you're going on a walk or you're on a road trip, and so that's just something to think about when you maybe don't have to make eye contact, which is, that's why I like a road trip or walking, because sometimes it's still awkward for people. Maybe not this crowd, but I just know that I realize after all these years that a lot of it is people are like, but how do I say it? I don't want to hurt my partner. I don't want to offend them. We've been going along this long and their ego's so fragile, or, but I guarantee you that your partner wants to be a good lover to you, and you want to be a good lover to them. And again, to go back to JJ's question of like, why don't we know this? Nobody talks about it. Nobody in a way that I think is really useful or helpful. And also we have shame, so we don't want to bring it up. It's like the last thing we want to bring up. So just circling back to the shame part, it is awkward. I even have struggled with it. I'm like, oh God, I got this sex talk. I know exactly what to do, but I don't want to do it. It's like we don't have a lot of experience with it. Maybe like at work, it's easy to do these things, but you're talking to your kids, you get used to it, but with sex, a lot of us are just like, we haven't done it. And then I'm still on collaboration. Self-knowledge is another pillar. And that's just like, how well do I know myself? Do I know my turn-ons? Do I know what I like? A lot of times we know what we don't like, and that's a great place to start. Like, I don't like having sex. I told my last boyfriend, I was like, it's not going to happen on a weeknight past 10. Like, that's not even when, like maybe a Saturday afternoon or maybe some mornings, but just like knowing, like, I'm not going to be ready then, or knowing that if it's freezing in the house, or knowing that I really need foreplay. It's not just a light suggestion. It's actually a requirement. Just, enough now at this time just to think, even if it's 1 or 2 things, how well do you know yourself? And then self-acceptance. This is the confidence piece. This is, do I accept my body, my experience, myself as it is now? And so these are the ways to kind of, and I have a site, it's called Smart SX. It's a new community that I just launched that in September that has a quiz you can take, and it just helps you kind of guide you on the sexual intelligence to see where you might want to work on today and where you want to start. And I'm there to help.
You know what I liked? I heard Emily speak on a podcast. I forget his name, Heal Thyself.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a male podcast host. And I mean, even we've done it here as we sort of like put ourselves into the genders or sexes of men are like this and women are like this. But I was fascinated to hear how much he related to what you were saying to us women. That we think that men, it's just about having sex, having orgasm, being over, but he related to everything you were saying here.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I don't mean to say like, it is a gender. There's plenty of men who want connection and crave intimacy and aren't and feeling shame. Like, here's the thing for men: their pressure is that they're supposed to be aroused, turned on, hard, 24/7. They always want sex. They always want it. Like, that's their job, right? Penetrate. Like, there's just as many guys who are like, I don't want it. It's not working. It's not what I want. I want something different. And, so that's just, I should know what I'm doing. So, yeah, there's just a lot of like, just myths, and there's just a lot of misinformation about sex. It's just a lot of what we heard was wrong. Like, it's just untruth, untruths, things that are not true. Like that it should be a certain time a week, or that certain times a month you should, that you should, certain times a week you should have sex, or you should want it in this way at these times. So I think the really relatable thing there is like, yeah, we don't know either. Like we've all been growing up. And also if you have kids, or maybe you grow up on porn, right? And then porn is a whole nother heady stew, because you're like, how? That's not accurate either. Like, that's not how sex is going to happen. My generation, we didn't really have any information. But that was just like, now that's just like misinformation, and it's, not helpful. So discovering now what you actually like, what kind of touch you like, what kind of talk you like, what kind of around, how you actually get turned on, what needs to happen. What are the steps that need to happen for you to actually be ready for sex, like clean house, have worked out that day, take a bath, there's just things that you might know. Like, when was the last time I actually wanted it? Reverse engineer that. What was happening? Where was I in my life? In my cycle? What medications was I taking? Like, we have the tools, doesn't have to just be, but yeah, it takes some work, but it's fun work. Masturbate.
Is it fun? Yeah.
No, but JJ, listen, I get it. It's like another thing, but there's so much knowledge that comes from actually understanding our bodies and what feels good to us. And even mutual masturbation, if you're in a relationship, is like one of my top tips. Like, lay next to each other. You can both figure out how to please yourselves and look at it. It can be hot. You can learn something new. Just taking the time to explore what feels good now, because also what we wanted 20 years ago, we might not actually want now. We might not want any of that. And so, our bodies have so much potential for pleasure and so much capacity for pleasure, and whatever that might look like. And so I love to encourage everybody to start again, start now, start today.
I
When you
always
leave here.
like telling the story of Emily's garage, which is like a sex toy shop. And I was just walking by one day, and so I stopped in to say hello to her, and she was like, "Oh, come to my garage. I'm working on something in there." And literally, she gave me so much stuff in my bag that I was walking past her boyfriend at the time, and they're like, things falling out of it, like going down the street and vibrate. And we get home, and my husband are like, "What is this thing?" But
it was fun, right?
It was hilarious.
Okay.
But it was great because it was hilarious, right? And that's a really fun way to like have any conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Is to make it funny.
Yeah, make it funny or come to my house. But it's also like a novelty thing. Like, this is like also like, we want something novel. Things get rote. We're doing the same things over and over again. And there is a lot of contrived information, like take a bath, use a sex toy, have a glass of champagne, whatever but some of that is like, well, something new could be, hey, babe, let's go shopping on the store. Like, let's get a new lube. Let's get a toy. Let's try a new position. Let's take a trip. Like, let's try together to see if there's something new, because we've been doing a lot of the same things. If we're in our, relationship, the same stuff happens. So I know that was fun once you figured something out. Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to share it, but it's, yeah.
My husband loves when I talk about our sex life in front of a room full of women, so it's awesome. And, my kids. Oh, yeah, the other thing. Okay, well, we have to get off. But the other thing is the kids.
The kids.
Sam likes this because one of the prerequisites for going to college in my house is that you must have an hour-long conversation with Emily. So far, my 16-year-old son has had one.
It was the best.
Which was great. Anyhow, okay, we have to go. Last piece of anything. Everyone goes home. They're inspired by you. That great sex is in their future if it's not in their present. One thing everyone should do.
Have a conversation about sex. If you're in a relationship, I realize we never talked about it. You could say, Dr. Emily. I was like, people blame me all the time. I was in this podcast. I heard the speaker. I know it's awkward. So have one think about that one thing that you've been wanting, that you haven't said, you haven't talked about, or one thing you had in the past that you like. Have that conversation tonight. And the second thing is, if you're not in a relationship, like, go home and have some solo sex. Play with yourself. See what turns you on. Take a look at it. Take a mirror. The whole thing. Do something like that, physical, or do both.
Thank you.
Thank you, JJ.